Believe it or not, love is in the air, peeps, and many of us still believe in true love. We've either found our Prince Charming or are still hopeful we'll find them and are so patiently awaiting their arrival. It's with that thought in mind that I bring you my top three Cinderella movies of all time. Be sure to watch till the end because you don't want to miss my impersonation and best review of the number one Cinderella movie. The first pick was released in 2004. This modernization of the Cinderella classic finds its setting in a high school where the main characters are internet pals. And might I say, it was very forward thinking of the writers to allude to online dating. The two characters use a pseudonym and are comforting one another amidst their teenage woes. Sam, who's the title Cinderella, has it rough with first losing her dad in an earthquake and now living with her stepmother and two awful daughters. As it turns out, the dad supposedly did not have a will, and the money greedy stepmother gained ownership of the family's diner and assets. Sam must work at the diner as well as being a housemaid, all while trying to save up to go to Princeton, where princesses attend to fulfill their dreams. Alas, all is not gloomy, as Sam has a really cool friend named Carter and the support of the family's diner workers, including sassy manager Rhonda, played by Regina King. Her pen pal, who calls himself Nomad and is the title Prince Charming, is dealing with a dad that's trying to live vicariously through him. The dad is really going hardcore because he's already secured a full football scholarship for his son at his alma mater, while Austin lacks the courage to reveal his intention to attend Princeton and pursue his dream of becoming a writer. As the pen pals bond and offer each other support, their friendship blossoms, and the two plan to meet at the high school's masquerade dance in the middle of the floor. Have you guessed the version yet? It's a Cinderella story starring Hilary Duff, Chad Michael Murray, Regina King, and Jennifer Coolidge. Hilary Duff, whom everyone adored, and she was riding high in her career at that time, along with Chad Michael Murray, who was a major heartthrob. He had the voice, the hair, and in this movie, dreamy eyes that impressively locked on his love interest in their scenes together. In supporting roles were Regina King, who was able to combine conflicting traits: sassy, yet protective, soft, yet fiercely supportive, a defender, yet caring and generous, all at once, while adding up to be a very likable character. And Jennifer Coolidge, cast as the wicked stepmother, let me just say, she did not disappoint with the comedy. Her comedic timing was so in the pocket. The most beautiful scenes in the movie are during the dance where Sam enters wearing the most stunningly gorgeous gown ever, which is actually Rhonda's old wedding dress. And what a grand entrance Sam makes. She is so rocking that gown. You know, no lie, I still want to go out and find a seamstress to make that gown for me. I would totally wear it today. It's during that romantic dance that Sam realizes her pen pal is none other than Austin, the popular high school quarterback. And so begins the essence of the Cinderella story. My favorite quote from the movie is when Sam confronts Austin once he realizes she is indeed his pen pal, but he refuses to publicly acknowledge her. And she tells him, "Waiting for you is like waiting for rain in this drought. Useless and disappointing." Boy, did she drop the mic. This version of the classic will not disappoint. It's light, it's sugary, but it's a lovely distraction from the many toxic relationships on blast as of late. Modern retelling of the classic Cinderella story and the nickname Indie. It's a unique adaptation of the classic and it captures the sad realities of emotional abuse, which can be hard to recognize and prove in a court of law. For me, this movie was a tearjerker. The scene opens with a very young Indy celebrating with her mother and friends at a party in her honor, where she's gifted with a pet cat. Tragedy soon strikes as her mother's car is struck by a driver who was texting while driving, and instantly, Indy is an orphan. Cut to, she now lives with her aunt and uncle and their two daughters, and she naively thinks her life is fine until her treasured cat is accidentally fatally struck by a car and brings the new guy into her life. Now, this popular hot new guy, Brian Bailey, is just not Indy's type because she believes him to be shallow and oblivious. Have you guessed it yet? The number two spot goes to not Cinderella's type. The popular guy, Brian, is indeed quite charming. His dad's a counselor and a gem of a guy as well. He admirably teaches Brian how to stand by the one you love and traits that makes him a good husband. He not only saw Indy as a person, but peeped the outrageous restrictions placed on her by her aunt and uncle, as well as her living conditions, and he did something about it. While he wanted her as his girl, he pushed her to figure out her true feelings for her longtime best friend. Aw, now that's charming. So that created a love triangle with the best friend and the new guy vying for Indy's affections. It's beautifully portrayed with respect on all sides, but not the slightest hint of malice. Both guys had a good heart. Each gave the other the space to pursue Indy, and both admirably conceded to the other when Indy's attention turned to them. I mean, come on, check out the movie, y'all, and watch the best friend's goodbye speech. Don't get me wrong, the best friend had his moments. He was the light and laughter in Indy's dark days. He chose to eat cafeteria food just to be near Indy because she didn't receive an allowance. You know, when you like someone, proximity is a good thing, so I applaud him for that sacrifice. Yet he had one major downfall which cost him his chance with Indy. While he knew she was abnormally restricted, his feelings for her never motivated him to dig deeper. And there is one scene in the movie that sealed his fate with Indy and forever placed him in the friend zone. When Indy called him, crying and scared, he, too involved with his twisted ankle, failed to truly hear the anguish and desperation in her voice, and he responded to her, I desperately need you right now. Call with a, I'll call you tomorrow. I mean, he still had a chance to redeem himself when she cheerfully said, tomorrow? But still, he didn't pick up on the quivering voice, and thus he missed his opportunity to rescue his damsel in distress. The biggest plus was the movie's realistic approach to the emotional abuse. Indy clearly was the victim of emotional abuse at the hands of her relatives, and not once did the movie suggest that a wave of wand would be the cure all. To the contrary, it spotlighted how courage, patience, and love conquered all in the end. Indy's character was so endearing and so desperate for love, and quite oblivious to the fact that she was a victim of emotional abuse. Even after she brought them to court, she was still concerned with for her two cousins and the aunt and uncle as well. Peeps, you'll laugh and you'll cry as Indy's journey unfolds. I'm telling you, it would be a shame and a huge disservice to you to sleep on this rendition of the Cinderella story, as this version is beautifully written. Its perspective is deep in its exposure of emotional abuse. It tugs at the heartstrings while also being quite entertaining. This is definitely one version to watch. And that brings us to the number one Cinderella story. But first, help me out, peeps, by sharing this video, giving it a thumbs up, hitting the subscribe button, and turning on the notification bell. It won't cost you anything, but it would really help me out in continuing to create content and bringing you good videos. C'est un film fort qui sait garder la tête froide quand on essaie de lui voler son cœur. Right off the bat, this version won my vote because it was uniquely told as an actual occurrence as opposed to being a fairy tale. It rates very high for me because gone are the supernatural elements, and in its place, we have it related as a historical event set in the Renaissance era in France. And I'm a huge, huge fan of France. Paris, France, to be exact. And for a bit of authenticity, they threw in Leonardo da Vinci. All right now. This adaptation of the Cinderella story is set back in time, lending to its credibility of being a true story. Once upon a time, the brothers Grimm, who are planning to tell the fairy tale of Cinderella in their children's book, received a request to the home of a wealthy grande dame who wants to set the record straight about the legends surrounding the little Cinder girl, who's actually her ancestor, and she lets them know it's not a fairy tale, but a true story. Have you figured it out yet? It's Ever After with Drew Barrymore. In the story, 8-year-old Danielle de Barbahac, impressively played by Drew Barrymore, is the daughter of the 16th century wealthy widower and landowner. He returns from a lengthy trip back to his estate in France with his new wife, Radmilla, portrayed by Angelica Houston, and her two daughters. The next day, the newly betrothed father is off for yet another journey, but as he's riding off, suddenly falls from his horse. Young Danielle runs and drops to his side, closely followed by the stepmother who drops at his other side. As the dad is dying of a heart attack, he cups at Danielle's face and says with his last breath, I love you. And basically, he's ignoring the new wife. This is an important scene as it sets the tone of the movie and provides the foundation for the stepmother's abuse and utter jealousy and disdain for Danielle. And thus begins the story of Cinderella. It's now 10 years later, and Danielle de Barbarac is now a servant for the trio, and the estate is in poverty due to the stepmother extravagant spending and the promotion of her favorite daughter to become the next queen of France. Now enters Prince Henry, played by Dougray Scott, who is fleeing an arranged marriage. Later, when Danielle poses as a lady, the prince takes an interest in her. I mean, why would he not? Danielle de Barbarac is no timid Cinderella. She's intelligent, she's feisty, and she's passionate. She delivers one of my favorite lines in the movie to Prince Henry. If you suffer your people to be ill educated and their manners corrupted from infancy, and then punish them for those crimes to which their first education disposed them, what else is to be concluded, sire, but that first you make thieves and then you punish them? Drop the mic! Prince Henry is rendered speechless and then seeks to discover her name. Yet she can't give him her name because she's posing as a lady. At his relentless request, she finally gives him a name, but it's her mother's name, Comtesse Nicole de Lancre. That's it, y'all. I'm changing my name. I'm now Comtesse Nicole de Lancre. There's so many gems in this movie, and I could recite them all as I've only watched the movie 100 times. But I'll give you one more before I close out. There's a scene involving gypsies where the prince and Danielle are captured. Danielle demands the return of their stolen items, to which the leader of the gypsies says, My lady, you can have whatever you can carry. You have my word. On my honor as a gypsy, whatever you can carry. And get this, y'all. Danielle de Barbarac walks over to the prince, lifts him on her shoulders, fireman style, and begins to walk away. Well, the gypsies are so stunned, and then they all laugh hysterically while calling them back, and they all become fast friends. Now, no, this isn't your ordinary Cinderella story. Do yourself a favor and watch this movie. You won't be disappointed. Well, that's it for me, peeps. I hope you've enjoyed my countdown. I'm off to watch, you guessed it, Ever After once again. And now, so should you. Watch it and be sure to tell me your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, This is Paprika signing off and passing the mic to you.